Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we explore what it means to live as a strong, purpose-driven man. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and today we're diving into a mindset shift that every man needs to understand. Rule 22, the pursuit of happiness is the happiness of pursuit. Too many men fall into the trap of believing that happiness is something waiting for them at the end of the finish line. That once they hit a certain goal, earn a certain amount of money, or achieve a specific milestone, they'll finally feel fulfilled. But the truth is, that kind of happiness is an illusion. It's a moving target. Every time you reach it, it should shift further ahead, leaving you chasing something that always just feels out of reach. This episode is about breaking that cycle, about understanding that happiness isn't found in an achievement per se, but in the journey itself. True fulfillment comes from growth. It comes from process, and it comes from the pursuit of something greater than yourself. The excitement, the struggle, the process, that's where happiness lives. So today we're going to challenge the idea of destination happiness and reframe it into something more powerful, the ability to find joy in the pursuit. If you can master this mindset, you won't just find fleeting moments of happiness. You'll be able to live a life of consistent and constant purpose and fulfillment. Let's get into it. Let's start by talking about the fallacy of destination happiness. So that's that false expectation of fulfillment upon achievement. Too many people fall into the trap of believing that happiness is waiting for them at the finish line. Like that is the goal that is deserved. That's the trophy that they win once they get there. That they will finally feel complete once they achieve a specific milestone. Common examples of this mindset. I will finally be happy when I get that promotion. Once I make six figures, I'll feel successful. When I get married, that's when I'll feel fulfilled. But the harsh reality check of this is happiness that's only based solely on achievements is going to be fleeting, because once a goal is reached, another one should naturally take its place. You can't live in the success or the feeling of joy of reaching that goal forever. People often experience a temporary sense of joy, followed by an immediate need for the next pursuit. This is a common trope of masculinity. This is what we should be striving for, honestly, as you are setting and achieving goals, is moving that goalpost. Think of a man who works tirelessly to land his dream job. You're going to feel fulfilled for a short period of time, but that's not your end goal. Soon you're going to realize that you want a higher promotion or move on to the next position or get that bonus or whatever is then next in line. So where the mistake of finding your happiness in that alone is the future events are going to lead to an endless cycle of then dissatisfaction. So we live in a broken world, and that includes the pursuit of fulfillment. Happiness is not our default state. The world is marked by imperfection, by struggle, and, of course, by sin. The contrast between happiness and unhappiness creates a desire for more, but it also makes a lasting fulfillment difficult. The Bible is able to put this into perspective clearly. The world was broken after the fall of man, meaning complete and lasting happiness is not a natural state in the sinful world. Ecclesiastes 1:8 says, "The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing." Humans are naturally wired to always want more. True joy must be cultivated internally, not sought externally. That would be us seeking the things in a broken world that inherently is not set up or designed to make us feel happy all the time. And yet that is where we're putting all of our hope and all of our efforts into trying to find that satisfaction solely out of that. So naturally, it's going to leave us feeling empty. The scientific side of this is the physiological impact of this conditional happiness that we've trained ourselves to live in. There's a dopamine effect of goal setting. Setting a goal triggers excitement and motivation. That's motivating. It keeps you moving forward. It's a way for your body to tell you, yes, this is good, keep going. And achieving that goal releases dopamine, but that effect is going to be temporary. Obviously, your body, once achieving that goal, isn't just going to keep a consistent stream of dopamine flowing for the rest of your life. So soon that brain, it's going to cut off that supply of dopamine, and then it's going to crave another hit. It's going to desire that again, leading to this endless pursuit of this external accomplishment. You're, again, placing your hope, your desire, and your efforts into seeking this fulfillment from the outside, from this broken world that's not designed for us to be happy all the time. It's not the natural state of a broken world. Studies in positive psychology show that people who focus on enjoying the process experience greater long-term fulfillment than those who are just solely fixated on the results. A Harvard study on adult development found that long-term happiness is more strongly linked to meaningful experiences and relationships than to any level of wealth or success, things that can be judged purely on a merit-based goal line, a finish line, something that can be tracked and checked out of a box as a clear quantitative value. And if that's where you're going to be finding your happiness, it creates an infinite loop of conditional happiness. That's that I'll be happy when mentality. The most common happiness traps, believing joy is always in the future. I'll be happy when I lose this weight. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I have a family. You're placing all of that hope in some future event that hasn't happened. All your happiness is being pushed forward. And this delays happiness indefinitely. It's always dependent on the next step. The problem, again, once that goal is achieved, the target shifts. The chase never ends. And that could easily lead down a road of stress and frustration and dissatisfaction. And if you're on a cycle of positive improvement and achieving these goals in a positive and meaningful way like we are supposed to as men, then if you are only placing your happiness in the achievement of said goals, you could find yourself in a position where you're never truly satisfied, and that actually is going to take you off the track that you're on. It's going to do the opposite of motivate you and push you. It's going to deter you from continuing down what is a genuinely good path to be on. So how do you break free then from this cycle? First step that I found is to recognize the pattern. Obviously, you have to be able to acknowledge what reality is before you can do anything with it. This is a reoccurring theme throughout this podcast. Is the first step is that recognition. It is the understanding of where you are now through that self-evaluation to know where you are on the map, because that's just as important as knowing where you want to go on a map. So recognizing the pattern, ask yourself, am I postponing happiness permanently for a future event? And I'm not saying that postponing happiness to some future date is inherently bad, but if you're putting all of your eggs in that basket and pushing everything to a future date, that could very well be an indicator that you are on this negative or harmful path of delaying all of your gratification to the degree that it's actually going to deter you from pursuing these inherently good goals. Identify if you're caught in the habit of waiting for happiness instead of experiencing some of that now. The next step would be to find joy in the present. Find things that you actually like now. You can't always live a life of dissatisfaction. Focus on the small victories along the way. And this doesn't mean hedonic, pleasure-seeking things. This doesn't mean I've been working really hard this month. Let me go buy a new X. This means, how can I actually find the joy in the pursuit of the struggles that I'm in currently? How can I find the joy in the things that I am presently working on achieving? Understanding that growth, not completion, can create a cycle of lasting fulfillment, because that's the road you're honestly going to always be on. Step 3 is going to then redefine happiness as a byproduct of action, not the reward. So this is the big one. True happiness isn't achieved. It's not the reward. It's not the prize at the end of the race. It's not the finish line and the trophy. It's something that grows as you live with purpose. It's something that you are gaining. It's something that you are drawing from as you are still in the race. That requires that mindset shift of honestly appreciating the present. Instead of asking, when will I be happy? Ask, how can I find joy in what I'm doing right now? What aspects of my current pursuit bring me fulfillment? Happiness should not be transactional. It's not something you earn after hard work. It can be, maybe it should be, but it's not only that. It's something that you should be experiencing during the hard work because you can draw your motivation from that. So that leads me to finding happiness in the pursuit. The true source of happiness. Happiness is not found in completion. It's the pursuit of something meaningful. Why? The process of improvement, discipline, the process of growth, it creates a deep sense of purpose. It creates a reason to pursue things as a man. That feeling of progress is not the end result. It's what drives long-term fulfillment. Like I said, if that's where you're drawing your motivation, your fuel tank will never be empty. Think of training for a marathon, something I hope I never have to do. Someone who trains for months to run a marathon will likely experience more fulfillment in the process than just crossing the finish line. Yes, crossing that finish line, it's great, it's motivating. You should feel happiness in that moment. But if you're putting all of your eggs into that basket, what if you don't finish? What if you hit an injury? What if something happens? Or what if you do finish and you do great and you beat whatever record you've set for yourself? Great, you have happiness in that moment. But if you didn't find any amount of joy or fulfillment in any other process along the way, that is a lot of work. That is a lot of dedication. That's a lot of time for a very, very small portion of where you're going to be feeling happy or fulfilled, or you're going to feel some sort of joy, just to go back to feeling like what you probably were prior to achieving that goal. The daily discipline, the feeling of getting stronger, that mental toughness, all of those should also be helping you create real happiness. It's not just finishing the race itself. So you have to build joy into the process. And maybe this is inherent, but sometimes this has to be quite intentional. So step 1, set clear, meaningful goals. This is something that, if you've been following along, I think is very fundamental to pretty much anybody, but definitely to young developing men such as myself, that you need to have something that's going to definitively drive you forward. So setting those clear, meaningful goals. Goals should be challenging but fulfilling. They should motivate you, but not be so burdensome that they are demotivating or that they're so unachievable that you're never actually going to put in the effort to reach them. The next step is to celebrate your progress. If you want to be a bodybuilder and you're starting from somebody who wasn't in the best shape, or you want to be Beachbody ready, it doesn't mean you're waiting until the very end to reach some sort of sense of fulfillment, because anybody who spent long enough in the gym knows that you're never going to be happy. Those goalposts are going to always perpetually move, and you're never going to look the way you want. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't celebrate the first time that you're able to bench a plate, or celebrate the first time you've run your first 8-minute mile, or the first time you're able to see abs. Whatever that goal is, that should be celebrated. You cannot put all of your eggs in the goal achieved basket, because that goal very well might only ever be a moving goalpost. It could be the same for anything. If you're starting a small business, don't celebrate when you finally hit your first 6-figure sale. Find joy in every milestone. Find your first sale or your learned skill or a new system that's been integrated to help improve business strategies. Whatever that is, finding the joy and success in those small steps that are a part of the bigger goal can help you and motivate you and push you more than you might think to actually achieving said goal. And finally, self-reflection. Ask yourself, what parts of my current pursuit give me energy and motivation? Am I appreciating the journey or just focused on the outcome alone? So those are some steps I found to help find joy in the process itself. Now let's talk about the power of passion in pursuit. So passion is not just about what you love, it's about what excites you. It's about what can help you grow. It's the anticipation of the achievement, because that can often be more exciting than the achievement itself. Highly fulfilled men don't just feel satisfied when they quote unquote arrive. They are constantly pursuing growth. Think of somebody like Elon Musk, who is somewhat controversial these days. He doesn't just stop after building Tesla or SpaceX. He is so motivated by his purpose in life. He keeps pushing forward. It's because he's such a passion in the process, not the result. The result is a checked box towards the next goal. And it's in that he is finding that motivation to keep going forward and finding that success to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Think if Michael Jordan just stopped practicing after he won his first championship. His love for the game wasn't because he finally got a ring. It was in the daily discipline and the challenge, and he kept going. And that's what created his greatness, his legacy. True success is the ability to stay excited about the process of growth. So to kind of wrap all that up, happiness, not a destination. It's an ongoing pursuit. Men who are going to embrace the process are going to find that deeper and more lasting joy than those who are just chasing these fleeting achievements. Now, I want to talk about how we can balance this ambition with contentment and how to strive for greatness while still appreciating the present moment. So, balancing pursuit and achievement, avoiding obsession with the end goals, the drive for success. It's important, but it has to be balanced, because chasing achievements at the expense of everything else is going to lead to that same emptiness. Think of somebody who works 80 plus hours a week to build a business, believing that financial success alone will make him happy. If in that process he's going to neglect his family, his health, his friendships, by the time he might reach his financial goal, his relationships have suffered. He feels isolated. All of the things, all of the multiple pillars of life that we're supposed to be maintaining, if you're letting those crumble, it's going to erode the foundation that's allowing you to build and pursue these things. Pursuit without that balance could just as easily lead to burnout and regret. There's the, quote, "I'll rest when I succeed" mentality. Many men delay that enjoyment, which is healthy to a degree, but they think that they must first earn the right to enjoy life. And if you are delaying gratification, that can be positive if it's healthily balanced. But it could also, if you are solely delaying all of the gratification, lead to resentment and exhaustion and push you from this righteous path that you're on. If you're always waiting for success to deserve happiness, then you're never going to feel fulfilled. I think one of the biggest balancing acts that we have to have as men when we are trying to figure out how we can still chase this success is how the role of our relationships and personal well-being fit into all of this. So the pursuit of success shouldn't ever overshadow your faith, your family, your friendship. There are going to be things that are more important than your empirical driven goals. Goals can very easily, and I know I am still very much struggling with this, they're very me focused. It's what about me? What if I did this? What if I achieved this? Then, yes, maybe my family can have this. Then we'll be in this position, but it's a me-orientated goal. And while I'm not saying that that is bad, if that's all that you have and that's all you're chasing, then you might spend all your time working on personal goals but never actually invest in things like your relationship or marriage or other things that maybe don't feel like this great external success but truly, truly are. The most meaningful pursuits should also align with your core values. So goals should not just be this external victory, money, status, accomplishments. The most meaningful, the most fulfilling pursuits are going to enhance multiple areas of your life. Maybe that does mean more money, but it should also mean deepening your faith, deepening your relationship with God, strengthening your family or your role as a husband and father, your physical, your personal health, caring about your body and your mind so you can be there and provide long term. And also your grand purpose, this thing that none of us really know what it is, going all the way back to one of my very first episodes talking about what God's plan is for us and how can we ever even really figure out what that is, which I don't think we can, but aligning your unique calling, with what you feel you're being drawn to, rather than this maybe societal expectation, is also a way that you can derive these more meaningful pursuits than maybe more of these surface level things that we see a lot more in society. This success that we might reach these goals, it's going to be hollow without the right foundation. Mark 8:36 says, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" How selfish is it that we would go and pursue things in this lifetime that would end up setting us up for failure for eternity? Talk about not prioritizing delaying gratification. If a man gains wealth and power and achievement but has no meaning, no relationships, no sense of purpose, his success is still empty. So how can we understand the balance between contentment and this ambition? Contentment is not the enemy of ambition. It's the foundation for lasting success. And normally when I talk about contempt, it is living a life of placidity. It's a negative, but there has to be a level of being happy with where you're at. And I think a part of that, if you think about your Venn diagram of life, has to cross over into, for lack of a better word, some level of contempt where you are able to derive that happiness in the moment. I talked about it already, but a man training in the gym should not only ever focus on hitting a target weight or PR. He has to find joy in the daily discipline, the physical improvements, the confidence that's going to come out of that consistency, because if he's only ever going to focus on that end result, he might not ever hit it, or it will only ever come once. So how can we balance these two? The contentment, it's appreciating the moment. It's recognizing the growth. It's understanding that and appreciating that and finding that joy in that process. And that needs to be balanced with the ambition. So pushing yourself to improve, setting the higher goals, moving the goalpost, challenging your limitations. Those two can coincide. That's that mindset shift where you can strive for greatness, but there has to be a part of you that's able to not delay all your happiness until it arrives. You have to be able to pull on that. You have to be able to recognize that and say, you know what? Good job, me. You have to be able to cultivate a happiness in pursuit mindset. So shift your focus from outcome to process. The secret to that long-term happiness is focusing on the journey. It's where you're at. It's the grind. It's where your very next step can be while looking at your long-term goal. That growth is going to be greater than the destination. Measuring your success by effort, the discipline, the process. It's not just by the final results. You have to find joy in challenging the struggles. The struggle itself can be a source of fulfillment and meaning. It sounds antithetical, but the growth only happens through the discomfort and difficulty. A boxer who only ever enjoys winning fights is never going to put the same effort in as the person who is so dedicated to their craft that he enjoys the pain of training and the discipline of practice and the challenge of getting better every single day. It's that hardship that builds the resilience that's going to lead to that deep satisfaction. Romans 5 says, suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. The most disciplined and fulfilled men are those who are going to learn to embrace suffering as a tool for growth. So developing daily practices for gratitude and reflection. This gratitude is going to help shift the focus from what's missing to what's already present. What can I appreciate now? Daily practices to cultivate that joy. This is not something that I have personally practiced, but I've heard that it can actually help, is gratitude journaling. So writing down just 3 things that you're grateful for each day in your journey, or thinking of 3 things each day and then glorifying that to God, or self-check-ins, asking, am I enjoying this process, or am I only focused on what that end result might be? Then you have to pair that with that intentional reflection. So taking the time to actually sit down distraction-free and acknowledge and then celebrate those small wins along the way. I think a spouse can help the most with this in recognizing those things and lifting you up to experience that and to notify you of that so that you can then recognize that in yourself. And there's a science to gratitude as well. Studies show that people who regularly practice gratitude report higher levels of happiness and lower stress levels. That's going to lead to overall better well-being. So how can we high level implement this into our lives right now? How can we apply the pursuit of happiness is the happiness of pursuit? 1, evaluate your goals and expectations. So are you postponing happiness? Reflect on whether you've tied happiness to a specific event rather than embracing that process. There are some signs that you're in this conditional happiness trap. If you think, I'll be happy when. If you feel unfulfilled after each goal and immediately set another. If you struggle to enjoy the moment because you're fixated on what's next. 2, identify enjoyable aspects in the journey. You can set these as a predestination, as mini goals, if you will. Reframe your perspective to appreciate the daily progress instead of only looking at the final result. Look at your goals and recognize what already brings you happiness. Ask yourself, what about my current pursuit makes me feel energized and fulfilled? Why am I even on this journey? What is motivating me to do this? Am I celebrating my small wins, or am I ignoring them in the pursuit of the next goal? 3, recognize sources of motivation. Which goals energize you the most? Are you pursuing something because it genuinely excites you, or because of this external pressure? 4, cultivate the joy in the journey. Setting these smaller milestones that you can celebrate along the way. Setting yourself up for success. Focus on growth, not just completion. Instead of saying, I want to finish this book, say, I want to write every day and improve my craft. Those little things that are a part, not replacing, but a part of your bigger goal that you can then celebrate. And then 5, balance ambition with presence. Pursue greatness, but also take the time to appreciate what you've already done. The most fulfilled men know how to push forward while still enjoying the moment. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on everything that we've just talked about. Happiness is not something you achieve, it's something that you are cultivating every day. It's not waiting for you to hit the finish line, to reach that goal. It's about finding that daily pursuit. It's finding it in the struggle, in the growth, and in the process of becoming better. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'll be happy when I make more money, when I hit this fitness goal, when I reach this milestone, you're postponing the very thing that you're chasing. The truth is, if you don't learn to find joy in the pursuit, you'll never truly feel satisfied, no matter how much you actually end up accomplishing. So here is my challenge for you. Take a hard look at your goals. Are you putting off happiness, waiting for some future achievement to finally allow yourself to feel fulfilled? Or can you shift your mindset to start embracing the journey itself, celebrating your progress, finding a meaning in the daily grind, and appreciating the lessons along the way? Don't wait for happiness. Find it in the pursuit. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How are you going to be able to apply this in your own life? Send me a message, share your reflections, and let's keep this conversation going. And as always, guys, keep chasing masculinity.